I don't want them to know you're a janitor. I'll just say you had an accident and can't work. That was the sentence that detonated the first explosive crack in my reality. Her voice was casual, almost annoyed, like I was an inconvenience. Like I was the stain on her perfect image. It wasn't even a discussion. It was a directive. You're really gonna lie to your whole family about me? I asked her, blinking, waiting, hoping she'd take it back. But Danielle didn't even look up from her makeup mirror. Yes, Ryan. You clean toilets. You really want them to know that? I should have walked away right then. But I didn't. Maybe I was still drunk on the illusion. Drunk on what I thought we were. She was going to her sister's birthday party. Big deal, right? But she told me not to come. She didn't want me there because Rachel's new boyfriend was some successful finance guy from Manhattan, and Danielle was obsessed with how we looked in comparison. I'll be back by midnight, she said, adjusting her dress. Tight, red, and screaming for attention. Not for me. Not anymore. Then she said the words that made me feel like a ghost. You'll just ruin the vibe, Ryan. I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I just watched her walk out like I was the hired help. Like I didn't matter. But the universe has a savage sense of humor. And poetic justice? Oh, it delivered. It started when her sister FaceTimed Danielle while she was still at the party. Danielle had left her phone in our bedroom, charging. I was on the balcony, smoking, trying to decide if I should pack a bag or burn the whole damn apartment down. The phone buzzed. I glanced. Rachel calling. Instinct told me to ignore it, but curiosity, man, it's a dangerous thing. I picked it up, thinking maybe Danielle was in trouble. That maybe this cold, self-absorbed version of her was just a bad phase. What I saw on that screen. It wrecked something deep in me. Rachel was laughing with a tall guy in a sharp black suit. Slick back hair. Rolex. Wall Street prototype. But as soon as the camera shifted, his eyes lit up, and not for Danielle. Yo, boss, he said, pointing at the screen. That's my boss. Ryan, right? What the hell? Small world. My mouth went dry. Rachel looked confused. Danielle, somewhere off camera, suddenly yelled, hang up. Hang up now. Too late. That slick guy? The successful boyfriend Danielle had hyped up? The guy she was so desperate to impress? Yeah, he worked in the very office building I managed. I wasn't a janitor. Not even close. I owned the company. Danielle had spun a lie so deep, so foul, just to feel superior in a crowd that didn't even care. She'd told everyone I was some broken nobody. And I had no idea why until that night blew the doors off everything. After Rachel ended the call in a panic, Danielle called me back immediately. She didn't ask if I saw the video. She didn't ask how I felt. She went straight to, Ryan, listen, I didn't mean it like that. It's complicated. You don't understand. Click. I didn't want to hear it. I turned off my phone, sat in the dark, and just stared at the wall. My wife, the woman who once kissed me like I was the only man on earth, had decided it was easier to demolish my dignity than risk embarrassment in front of her sister's fake boyfriend. But here's the twist neither of them knew. I was the one who signed that guy's paycheck. And if she thought that betrayal was the end of the story, she had no idea what storm was about to hit. Because the real damage hadn't even started yet. This wasn't just about a lie. It was about something else I'd soon discover. Something much worse. Something that made that red dress, that party, and that phone call seem like child's play. Danielle didn't just lie about my job. She'd been doing things behind my back. Late night, yoga classes, sudden girls' trips, shady texts from contacts saved as Melissa and dentist. That night was just the crack in the wall. And I was about to tear the whole damn house down. I didn't sleep that night. I lay there in the dark, watching the ceiling fan spin like it had the answers, while my mind kept replaying every moment from the past year. The canceled dinners. The random arguments over nothing. The sudden obsession with image, money, class. I thought we were just going through a rough patch. I thought she was stressed. I thought I could fix it. But you can't fix what was never real in the first place. At 2:34 a.m., the lock clicked. I didn't move. I waited. Danielle stepped in like nothing had happened. Heels in hand, makeup smudged from either the party or the tears she probably faked on the ride home. She saw me sitting in the chair. Oh, she said, like she hadn't just been caught in a web of her own lies. You're up. Yeah, I said calmly. Wasn't expecting to get called boss by your sister's boyfriend tonight. Her face twitched. Just for a second. Then she went into full defense mode. Eyes wide, hands raised like she was the victim here. Ryan, listen, that was a mistake. Mistake. I stood up. No. A mistake is forgetting to pick up milk. You didn't make a mistake, Danielle. You built a narrative. You crafted a ******ing performance. She crossed her arms, defiant now. That didn't take long. What do you want me to say? That I'm sorry for trying to protect my image? For not wanting to look like I'm married down? I laughed. Bitter. Hollow. You married down? Danielle, you married a man who was building a company while you were still figuring out how to iron your own clothes. I was never beneath you. But you lied. Again and again. Silence. Then she said the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You're overreacting. Overreacting. Like being humiliated in front of her whole family wasn't enough. Like having my identity erased wasn't worth being angry over. I grabbed my phone from the table and tossed it to her. Go ahead, I said. Open your messages. Let's talk about your little yoga instructor. Or is he the dentist this time? Her eyes went wide. For a second, she forgot to lie. That second was all I needed. I turned and started packing a bag. Not mine, hers. Ryan, wait, she said, stepping closer. It wasn't like that. I zipped the suitcase shut. Then what was it like, Danielle? Explain it to me. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you've been sneaking around, treating me like dirt, and spinning lies just so you could impress people who don't give a damn about you. Her voice dropped to a whisper. It was just. I didn't want to feel like I settled. Those words hit harder than any punch I've ever taken. Settled. Like loving me was settling. Like choosing me was a favor. I should have screamed. I should have smashed something. But I didn't. I looked her in the eyes, heart pounding, and said, then leave. She hesitated. I could see it, the panic, the realization that maybe she pushed too far this time. Ryan, please. Let's just talk. You're emotional. No, I cut her off. I'm clear. Crystal, you don't respect me. You don't love me. You love the idea of what I could be, but not who I actually am. So go find someone who fits your fantasy. She didn't move. So I opened the door. Danielle, get out. She grabbed her purse, threw one last venomous look over her shoulder, and walked out. I didn't slam the door. I closed it gently. And then I sat on the floor, in the silence, feeling the pieces of a decade crumble inside me. But it wasn't over. Because 2 days later, I got a call that twisted the knife even deeper. It was from my office. Security footage. Danielle had been in the building last week. Not alone. Not visiting me. And not for the first time. She thought she was clever. But the cameras caught everything. And the man she brought with her? He wasn't a yoga instructor. He was my employee. One of the interns. And the footage? Well, let's just say there are certain things you can't unsee. And I saw everything. I watched the footage in my office, the blinds pulled shut, the lights off, like somehow darkness would soften the blow. But nothing could have prepared me for what I saw. There she was, Danielle, wearing the same tight red dress she wore to that birthday party. Except this time, she wasn't trying to impress anyone but herself. Her reflection in the security mirror showed her smirking, full of herself, twirling her hair like a damn teenager. She wasn't lost. She knew exactly where she was going. Room 709. Conference room. After hours. And following behind her? Ethan. A 24-year-old intern I'd hired myself. Fresh out of college. Nervous, respectful, at least that's how he pretended to be. I had mentored the kid. Gave him opportunities no one else would. And there he was, walking 2 steps behind my wife, eyes locked on her like she was some prize he'd won. They didn't even try to hide it. She grabbed his hand, pulled him in, shut the door behind them. What followed wasn't grainy or blurry. It wasn't a shadow or a maybe. No, it was clear, full color, high-definition betrayal. Her on the table, him standing between her legs, her laughing, biting her lip, whispering in his ear. And me? I watched, frozen. Like a man watching his own funeral. When the footage ended, I didn't move. I just stared at the black screen, chest burning, fist clenched, heart pounding like a war drum. She didn't just lie. She paraded it. In my building. With my employee. In a room where we'd once celebrated signing a 7-figure contract. A room that had meant something. She had defiled every part of me, my trust, my home, and now my workplace. I should have called Ethan right then. Fired him. Ruined his life the way he helped ruin mine. But I didn't. I waited. Because some lessons are best learned the hard way. That night, Danielle came crawling back. Literally. I heard a knock just past midnight. Slow. Hesitant. I almost didn't open it. But curiosity, that cursed curiosity again. I opened the door, and there she was, mascara running, hair tangled, hoodie 2 sizes too big. "Ryan," she whispered. I didn't speak. She walked in like a ghost, sat on the couch, and buried her face in her hands. "If get up," she said, her voice cracking. I panicked. I didn't think you'd ever find out. "About the lies or the intern?" I asked. Her head jerked up. "You? No." I nodded slowly. "Cold. Controlled. I know everything. I know about the nights you said you were at yoga. I know about the lunch breaks that turned into motel stops. I know about Ethan. And I know it wasn't just once." She didn't deny it. Didn't even pretend. Instead, she stood up, walked over to me, and tried to touch my face. "You still love me," she whispered. "I know you do." I stepped back. "No, you don't get to do that." Tears filled her eyes. "Please, Ryan." I was stupid. I was scared. I thought you didn't love me anymore, and he was just there. "That's your excuse? UF had someone because he was there?" She looked like she was about to collapse. And a part of me, some broken, pathetic part, wanted to hold her. But I didn't. "I don't hate you, Danielle," I said. "But I can't ever respect you again." She dropped to her knees, sobbing. "Please don't leave me. Don't end us like this." I leaned in, just enough so she could hear every word. "There is no us. There hasn't been for a long time. You just didn't notice." And then I walked past her. Out the door. Down the hallway. And I didn't look back. I didn't need to. Because I knew that was the last time I'd ever see her cry. But it wouldn't be the last time I'd see her fall. 2 days later, the fallout began. I didn't have to do anything at first. Word travels fast in corporate corridors, especially when it smells like scandal. Ethan didn't show up for work Monday. I assumed he was waiting for me to fire him. He was right to wait. I wasn't going to do it through HR. No warning. No email. No paperwork. I wanted to look him in the eyes. I waited until Wednesday. Mid-morning. The office was quiet. I walked down to the bullpen, calm, no tie, sleeves rolled up. Some of the other interns looked up and froze when they saw me coming. "Where is he?" I asked, not raising my voice. One of them, pale kid named Travis, motioned toward the break room. I found Ethan making coffee like he hadn't been elbow deep in betrayal less than a week ago. He turned and nearly dropped the mug when he saw me. "Ryan, sir, I was going to come talk to you." I shut the door behind me. No yelling. No theatrics. "You lied to my face." He swallowed, hard. "You sat in my office and asked for guidance, for opportunity, and the whole time you were ing my wife in conference rooms." I didn't mean for it to. "No," I cut him off. "Don't explain. You don't get to explain. I want you out. Right now. Grab your hand over your badge, and disappear." His lips quivered like he wanted to argue, maybe even beg. I didn't blink. He left without another word. By noon, his desk was cleared, his name scrubbed from the system. Just like that. Gone. It didn't fix anything. But damn, it felt good. Danielle tried calling that night. 4 times. Then texts. "I miss you. I made a mistake. You don't know what it's like to feel invisible. I need you." I didn't answer. Not yet. Instead, I sat at the bar down the street. Alone. Whiskey in hand. Watching the ice melt and thinking about how love can rot if you leave it unspoken too long. But what Danielle had done, that wasn't rot. That was decay. Intentional. Violent. Like termites eating a house from the inside out. Around midnight, a woman sat next to me. Didn't say a word at first. Just ordered gin. Neat. She glanced over and asked, "You always stare at your glass like it insulted you?" I smiled for the first time in days. Her name was Emily. Divorced. Graphic designer. Funny, smart, eyes like storms. We talked until the bar closed. Nothing happened. No hand-holding. No flirty nonsense. Just real talk between 2 broken people. It reminded me that life still existed outside of Danielle's lies. But the real twist? It came a week later. I got an email from Rachel, Danielle's sister. Subject: "You deserve to know." Inside was a single paragraph and 2 attachments. The paragraph read, "Danielle didn't just lie about you, Ryan. She's been lying to all of us. That successful boyfriend I brought to the party? She told him you were just the janitor, and SG was the executive. She played us all. I'm sorry." The attachments were screenshots. Text messages between Danielle and Rachel. In one, Danielle said, "He doesn't get it. He's beneath me. He thinks just because he built some company, He's better than everyone. I need to remind him who's in control. In another. Once I have access to the company finances, I'm gone. I'll move in with someone who actually matters. So it was never about boredom. Never about feeling unloved. It was about power. Control. She wanted to own me. And when she realized she couldn't, she tried to ruin me instead. I sat there, rereading those words, over and over, as the numbness began to wear off and the fire replaced it. Danielle didn't just betray me emotionally or physically. She planned to destroy me. And I'd been sleeping next to her for years. Now I wasn't going to just walk away. She wanted war? She'd get it. I didn't sleep that night. I laid there, staring at the ceiling, fist clenched on top of the covers, thinking about how close I came to handing over the keys to everything I built to a woman who saw me as a pawn. Not a husband. Not a partner. Just AF ****ing stepping stone. That next morning, I called my lawyer. A real bulldog. Name's Carter Langston. I gave him everything: emails, footage, text screenshots. I told him, I want to protect every cent. I want her out of my accounts, out of my company, out of my life. His answer, we'll burn the bridge and make sure she drowns. 3 hours later, Danielle showed up at my building. I don't know how she got past the lobby. Maybe she smiled her way through. She always had a way of making people underestimate her fangs. She walked in like she owned the place, like the last 2 weeks hadn't happened. I just want to talk, she said, stepping into my office without knocking. I didn't look up from my desk. You've got 1 minute. She gave that fake little laugh she used whenever she wanted to reset the mood. You don't really want to end things like this, Ryan. We built too much. We've got history. History doesn't mean ***** when the present is this ugly, I said coldly. She moved closer. I could smell her perfume, the same one she wore on the night of Rachel's party. It made my stomach turn. I messed up, she whispered. I admit it. I was insecure. I felt like I was disappearing in your shadow. You weren't disappearing, I snapped, finally meeting her eyes. You were pulling knives out of your purse and stabbing me in the back every time I turned around. Her expression shifted, sadness to irritation, then full venom. So what? You're just going to throw away everything we had? Over a few mistakes? A few. I leaned forward. You lied about me to your family. You slept with an intern in my building. You mocked me in your messages. You planned to rob me blind. Danielle, you weren't a mistake. You were a con. She blinked. Once. Twice. Then she smiled. It wasn't soft. It was sharp. You think you're untouchable, she said quietly. But you're not. You think just because you have money and a company, you can win every fight. I stood up and walked to the window. My city, my skyline. The company I bled to build. I don't need to win every fight, I said. Just this one. That was when she lost control. Her voice cracked, her hands clenched. I gave you the best years of my life, she shouted. No, I said, turning to face her. You rented them. And now the lease is up. Security escorted her out. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. 3 days later, I got a notice from a law firm. Danielle was filing for alimony. Said she gave up her career to support me. That she was entitled to a portion of the business. But I had receipts. Every damn one. She never gave up a career, she never had one. She never supported me, she drained me. And now she wanted to be paid for it? No. I wasn't going to let her walk away with a dime. While Carter prepared for war, I reached out to Rachel. She was still furious. At Danielle. At herself for not seeing it sooner. She told me something I hadn't known. Danielle had tried to seduce her boyfriend. The successful one. The one who called me boss. Said Danielle came on to him the night of the party. Whispered that she could get him promoted if he played along. He shut it down. Told Rachel everything. And that's when he recognized me on the video call. Danielle was unraveling even before I found out. The cracks had always been there. I was just too blind or too in love to see them. But now? Now, I saw everything. And I was done playing nice. Carter didn't waste time. Within a week, he froze the joint accounts, blocked any access Danielle might have had to company holdings, and filed a response to her alimony request that read more like a public execution than a legal document. We included screenshots of her texts to Rachel, the security footage, the recorded conversation we had in my office. Carter had even managed to pull receipts showing she'd secretly wired money to a personal account I didn't know about, one she opened months before our problems started. The judge wouldn't need much convincing. She wasn't getting a cent. But that didn't stop her from trying. She showed up at my apartment building late one night, banging on the glass door, screaming that she needed to talk. The doorman called up. I didn't answer. He handled it. I watched her from the 12th floor, pacing like a caged animal, phone in hand, crying 1 second, cursing the next. A week later, I got an email from a fake account. Just one line. Enjoy your little empire while it lasts. I forwarded it to Carter. He traced the IP in under 20 minutes. Guess who? Danielle was now using burner accounts to harass me. And the thing was, she wasn't subtle. She never had been. She didn't know how to lose without turning it into a circus. I started documenting everything. Calls, messages, social media DMs, all of it. Because if she thought she could break me down, make me look unstable, she was in for another surprise. Meanwhile, word spread at the office. Some people avoided me like my personal life was radioactive. Others, the ones who'd been quiet for too long, came forward. Turns out Danielle had been visiting the building more than I thought, snooping, flirting, asking questions she had no business asking. One guy from marketing said she once cornered him in the elevator and asked how much stock I owned. Another said she asked for a copy of the company's quarterly report as my wife, claiming I was too busy to check it myself. She'd been laying the groundwork for months, planning an exit strategy. Probably thought she'd get a payday, move in with some idiot, and live comfortably off my blood and sweat. But she underestimated one thing. Me. I didn't get here by being soft. I gave her the version of myself that loved, forgave, compromised. That version was dead now. The new me? He was cold, focused, surgical. Emily started texting again around this time. Not romantically. Just checking in, asking how I was holding up, telling me about her freelance work, random articles she read, a funny thing her cat did. I needed that. Not a rebound. Not some shallow distraction. Just something real. Something untainted. She didn't pry. She didn't push. She just listened. And it reminded me of what life felt like before Danielle. Peaceful. Honest. Uncomplicated. One afternoon, I walked into my office and found an envelope on my desk. No name. No address. Inside was a photo. Danielle. With Ethan. They were sitting in a restaurant, laughing. On the back of the photo, someone had scribbled, "Still believe she's sorry?" I stared at that picture for a long time. Not because I didn't believe it. I did. I knew she was still seeing him. But because even after everything, being exposed, thrown out, embarrassed, she still didn't care. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't ashamed. She was just mad she lost. I threw the photo in the shredder. Not because I wanted to forget, but because I didn't want her living rent-free in my head anymore. Carter called later that day. "She's hired a new lawyer," he said. "And he's good." I leaned back in my chair, staring out the window. "Doesn't matter," I said. "We've got the truth." "Yeah," Carter replied. "But she's not coming for the truth. She's coming for revenge." I smiled. "So am I." The court date was set. Danielle didn't even try to pretend anymore. She showed up flanked by some flashy attorney in an overpriced Italian suit, sunglasses still on indoors, like they were walking into a movie scene, not a legal proceeding. She wore black, like she was attending a funeral. Maybe she thought it was mine. Her eyes met mine once as she walked into the courtroom. Cold. Calculating. Not a flicker of remorse. The judge, a no-nonsense woman in her 60s, didn't have time for theatrics. She skimmed the case summary with a raised eyebrow, already unimpressed before either side said a word. Danielle's lawyer stood and gave his performance, something about emotional damage, lifestyle standards, how she sacrificed her own career ambitions to support my rise. He used phrases like power imbalance and emotional neglect, painting her as the long-suffering wife married to a tyrant with a bank account. Carter stood when it was our turn. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't even look at Danielle. He handed the judge a folder, said, "Everything you need is in there, Your Honor," and sat back down. The folder had everything. The footage, the texts, the emails, the burner account IPs, the witness statements from my employees, her messages planning to access the company's financials. It took 15 minutes. The judge closed the file, leaned back, and stared at Danielle like she was a rotten piece of fruit. "I find it insulting," the judge said slowly, "that you would use this courtroom to attempt a financial ambush built on deception, adultery, and deliberate manipulation." Danielle's jaw locked. Her lawyer tried to interject. The judge cut him off. "There will be no alimony, no division of assets. And you, Mrs. Dalton, are very lucky that the plaintiff is not seeking damages for breach of fiduciary trust. Because based on this evidence, I'd strongly consider it." She banged the gavel. Danielle didn't move. She just stood there, frozen. No money. No payout. Nothing. When she finally walked past me, she didn't say a word. But her eyes, those lying, smug eyes, were full of something new. Fear. She knew it was over. Not just the marriage. Not just the financial fantasy. But her version of reality. Shattered. I walked out into the sunlight, exhaled, and for the first time in months, felt light. Free. Emily called that night. Said she heard the news from a mutual friend who worked in legal. We talked for an hour. Then 2. At one point, she laughed so hard she had to put the phone down. That laugh, God, it was like cleansing rain after a forest fire. She didn't ask for anything. She didn't want anything. She just was there. After we hung up, I sat by the window with a drink in hand and thought about how much had changed, how much I'd lost, and how much I'd escaped. Danielle sent one last message. Just 2 words. You win. I didn't reply. Because I didn't win. I survived. And that's worth more than any victory. A few weeks passed. Life started to settle into something that felt peaceful. No more late-night fights. No passive-aggressive comments. No walking on eggshells around a woman who saw herself as the prize and me as the fool who was lucky to have her. The apartment was quiet, clean, mine. I replaced the bed, tossed every trace of Danielle photos, perfume bottles, her red lipstick stain on the wine glass by the sink. All gone. Erased. Not out of anger. Out of necessity. Carter finalized the paperwork. Divorce official. Company protected. No lawsuits. No loopholes. Danielle's name stripped from everything. She didn't show up to sign. Her lawyer couriered it in. Coward. Rachel and I talked a couple of times. She apologized again. I told her not to. She had nothing to be sorry for. She had no idea her sister had turned into a manipulative, attention-thirsty parasite. She told me Danielle moved in with a friend, was talking about starting over. Some wellness blog, or OnlyFans, or whatever desperate outlet she needed to feel adored again. Didn't matter. She was someone else's problem now. Emily and I saw each other in person not long after. It was a casual thing, coffee at a small place near her apartment. No pressure. No expectations. We talked about everything but Danielle. No trauma dumping. Just life. Work. Music. Movies. Travel. Real things. She made me laugh without trying. And I realized something. I had been starving for realness for years. Danielle had fed me dopamine highs, fake compliments, flashy photos for Instagram. Emily? She gave me space. Honesty. Eyes that didn't judge or compete or calculate. And damn, that was rare. One night, as we sat on her balcony with drinks in hand, watching the skyline pulse in silence, she turned to me and said, "You ever regret it?" Regret what? I asked. The marriage. I didn't answer right away. I thought about the years I gave to Danielle. The loyalty. The blind trust. The nights I thought she was working late, when she was probably tangled in some other man's arms. I thought about how I defended her to friends. To myself. No, I finally said. Because it taught me what love isn't. And that's the most valuable lesson I've ever learned. She nodded. That's fair. Then she smiled. And I knew I'd be all right. If you're reading this and you're in that same place, confused, angry, betrayed, let me say this. You're not broken. You're waking up. Pain doesn't mean the end. It means truth has arrived. And truth? It will set you free if you let it. I gave my heart to the wrong person. But now I know better. And next time, if there is a next time, she's going to have to meet a version of me that knows his worth. Because I'll never be the fool again.